Welcome, you are one-on-one with Wesley Sports Guy here on YouTube.com and online all the time at WesleySportsGuy.com as well. Thank you for tuning in. Episode 11 of One-on-One with yours truly. I got a lot to get to this week and just going to dive into it real quick with the Stanley Cup Finals about to get underway. You've got the Vegas Golden Knights against the Washington Capitals. If you had that at the beginning of the season, I would call you a flat-out liar because nobody would expect an expansion team to make it to the championship series in their first inaugural season. That is something that you just haven't seen happen ever. It's the first time in any sport, to my knowledge, that you have an expansion team making it to their sports title in the very first season of their existence. This is quite the story, but again, not everybody is shocked. If you know anything about hockey, the Vegas Golden Knights have a structure in place from the very beginning. They hired a pretty damn good coach in Gerard Gallant, who's probably going to be the Jack Adams Trophy Award winner, which is essentially their coach of the year. And they just have names after the trophies, as is the Stanley Cup, which is arguably the greatest trophy in any sport. I don't care what you say. It's not the Lombardi Trophy in the NFL. It's not the NBA Larry O'Brien Trophy. It's not the World Series trophy in baseball. It is a Stanley Cup because your name gets put on that thing. It's amazing. You can't argue with that. But regardless, the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals will be playing starting Memorial Day, Game 1. I believe is going to be in Las Vegas because they have the better record than Washington does going into the playoff structure. And I have, as of right now, I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would give the slight advantage to Vegas just because they are a defensive-minded team. They have been that the entire year so far, and they're playing it to a T here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have just dominated the Western Conference, although it got a little dicey against the Winnipeg Jets, but they came back and just shut them down. A very high-powered offense in Winnipeg and ended up winning it in 6 games. The Capitals had to go to 7 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I thought Tampa Bay was going to get that one not easily, but Tampa Bay was just a stacked team. This is a better team than they had a few years ago when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Chicago Blackhawks, but then the Blackhawks went in and thumped them in that series. But I'd have to say I'm not totally surprised about Washington. Alex Ovechkin has been playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play, and that's saying something because he's arguably one of the best hockey players of this generation. When you weigh it against so many other great hockey players that have come before him, he is definitely one of the best right now, if not the best. I'm willing to listen to that. He is a very, very dominant hockey player on both sides of the ice, and that's offense and defense. He's actually very good defensively. Kind of shocking to say, but he's not just known for scoring 50 goals every season. He plays some pretty good defense, and he's also very, very aggressive on the forecheck. Again, I'm getting into the nuts and bolts of hockey if you don't want to get into that right now. But again, if you want to check out the Stanley Cup Final preview, you can go to WesleySportsGuy.com and look for that. The NBA Finals are just about underway. We're still into the conference finals right now. The Houston Rockets are up 3-2 as of this recording here on One-on-One at YouTube.com. The Houston Rockets have a pretty good advantage against the Golden State Warriors right now, and unfortunately, they're not going to have Chris Paul for Game 6, but if Houston does end up beating Golden State in 6 games and it doesn't go to 7, I would be semi-shocked about that, just because, I mean, Chris Paul played great at the end of that game in Game 5 for the Rockets, but Game 6, if you don't have one of your best players out there, it's going to be kind of hard to defeat the Golden State Warriors, as talented and deep as they are right now. They are the defending champs for a reason, and this team is one of the best that we've ever seen assembled in NBA history. So if I see Houston not having it go to Game 7, I'm not taking anything away from them. They're not just going to lay down, but not having Chris Paul is definitely going to take a knock on them a little bit there. And the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East going against the Boston Celtics, that's going to go to 7 games. We've already got that taken care of. The Cavaliers handled business in Game 6. Figured that was going to happen. I knew it was going to go to 7 games in that series. Sorry, I'm not going to call myself a messiah here, but it's just the way that series is going to play out. Now, if Boston doesn't play up to what they have been at home, then yeah, Cleveland's got a pretty easy path right now to get back to the NBA Finals again. And I hate to say I'm going to tell you right now, but I have no doubts in my mind it's going to be Golden State and Cleveland again in the NBA Finals. So this next week, I'll be talking to you about having that for 4 years in a row. So looking forward to that, aren't you? Time for the segment that makes you wonder, should I stand or should I take a knee? Do you remember?
You remember?
Do you remember when politics and sports had their own separate corners of our society, you would say? Politics was your Monday through Friday type of deal where, you wanted to espouse your opinion to your friend or family member about the president or your governor or the mayor or whomever it was. But when it came down to the nuts and bolts of things with sports in particular, any sport for that matter, that was your getaway from everything. That wasn't just your getaway from politics. It was also your getaway from family in certain cases. But that's not to say you didn't watch sports with your family. You wanted to watch them with your family. You wanted to have that camaraderie with friends as well, to have something to talk about. That's where we get our conversations, our polite and, friendships made through sports. It's not politics. I don't make friends talking about, the president of the United States and what he or she, if that does happen one day, might or might do with current policy. That's not how you make friends. You make friends by talking about sports. That's a very pinnacle part in our society, and they should be kept separate. They should not be mingled in together. Now, that's not to say that a particular athlete can't espouse his opinion about politics. That just doesn't mean I have to actually, live my life by what they actually said. It's like, oh my God, wait a minute. LeBron James endorsed such and such for president? Oh, that changes my opinion altogether about that person. Maybe I should vote for them. No. Come to your own conclusion on that. You don't need a sport figure to tell you who to vote for based off of their political endorsement. It's the same thing goes for a particular politician that you do like. Just because they endorse somebody for office in a particular city, state, or place in government, that doesn't mean that you need to form your opinion based off of that endorsement. Make up your own mind. Figure it out for yourself. But again, I digress a little bit. Politics and sports should be kept separate. Why am I bringing this up? I shouldn't be talking about politics. I should be talking just about sports. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because now the NFL has enacted a anthem policy. 2 years after this whole thing started, where Colin Kaepernick decided, I'm going to take a knee during the national anthem to protest oppression and police brutality in the country as he saw fit at the time. Now it's been, you can call it the movement. This movement has taken on a life of itself in certain cases where players have espoused their opinions, which is perfectly valid. It's a free country. You can say what you want, no matter where you are, and you can have that discussion at that given point in time. You don't have to be vitriolic about it. You don't have to be hateful about it. That's their opinion. You can express their opinion, and we can be civil about it still. But I'm a bit confused as to why the NFL decided 2 years after the fact to finally have a policy where you now have to stand for the anthem or you stay in the locker room if you don't want to stand for the anthem. Took you 2 years to figure this out? You could have done that pretty quickly in the beginning, and it could have gone away then. Sure, some players would have been a little irritated about it, but again, you're a professional football league. It's a business. Your employees are doing something that most of your clientele doesn't agree with. You have a right to dictate that policy. It's not to say it has to be agreed upon by everybody, but you have a right to do that. Just as the NBA did it years ago, mind you, with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Remember that guy? Yeah, you probably don't remember that guy, but that guy refused to stand for the national anthem, and the NBA fined him, and he thought, oh, wait, that's affecting my wallet. I better not do that again. And he changed. Did everybody have an uproar about that? No, because that was a private business again. The National Basketball Association fined their player for doing that, something that angered a lot of people, including their clientele. They changed their policy. Done. Over with. NFL could have done this a lot sooner. But the other problem I do have, besides the NFL taking their sweet time and having an identity crisis with what's going on the field itself, besides politics, I'm having a problem with the NFL because they seem to want to change the way the game is played when it's been played like this for decades. But again, that's a topic for another day. If you want to know more, you can go to westthesportsguy.com and check it out. Search for NFL has an identity crisis. I wrote about that quite a few years ago. But again, the other problem I have, Colin Kaepernick, when this whole thing started, he specifically said, go back on it on YouTube and find it. He specifically said he was protesting what the flag stood for to him. Anybody that tries to say it wasn't about the flag is wrong for that matter. The guy that started this, Colin Kaepernick, said, I'm doing this because I don't agree with what the flag stands for. He can protest any way he wants about what he believes is oppression and police brutality in this country. We can have a civil discourse about it. We don't have to be vitriolic. But again, if you're saying that what you're doing is because of the flag, it's going to anger a lot of people. And that's how it all started. Now, other players have said it's not about that, and that's probably true because they aren't the ones that started it. But Colin Kaepernick did, and he's not playing right now in the NFL for a multitude of reasons. And sure, it could be because of the flag too. Some owners don't want to touch that. They don't want that publicity that comes with it and controversy as well. But I have to ask this question once again, right here. Colin, if you really want to play in the NFL, are you committed to putting in all that extra work to being a top-tier NFL quarterback? You were a top-tier NFL quarterback at one point, but something happened along the lines where it was either you lost motivation, you certainly had the talent on the team, but your motivation seemed to suffer. Your talent seemed to go away. I don't know what happened to it, but I know it's still there. But I believe the motivation's gone. And then I have to wonder, did you stop with the commitment to putting in that extra work, studying film, extra practices, getting involved with your teammates more to build that camaraderie on the field? Did you do any of that? And do you still want to put that commitment forward? That's where I question whether or not teams are taking a chance on Colin Kaepernick, because I think he's just not motivated to play football anymore. It's as simple as that. Time for my feel-good story of the week. And going into Memorial Day weekend, I want to promote a couple charities to donate to going into the Memorial Day weekend. By the way, this is not just for the veterans that are still with us, thankfully. To this day, including our World War II veterans, they're going away rather quickly, I should say. But it's also to Memorial Day is mainly to remember the ones that we lost and made the ultimate sacrifice to afford us the freedoms that we have today, including me doing a stupid show on YouTube here, one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy. The couple charities I want to promote here, 22kill.com. That is a well-intentioned charity that promotes the conservative fact, you could call it, that on average 22 veterans are committing suicide on a daily basis. It is a staggering statistic, and it's just sad to know that's happening. Even one is too many. But go to 22kill.com and support that charity. You can also go to fisherhouse.org. That's another great charity that provides housing for military families to basically keep the household together while the service member is overseas or away from the home for an extended period of time. Fisher House does a great job with military families. And the Travis Mills organization, travismills.org/foundation. That is also a great charity that I stumbled upon while watching the Facebook show with Mike Rowe, Returning the Favor. Shameless plug there. But anyway, that's a great show that promoted Travis Mills and his foundation, which basically takes military families, including the military service member that suffered a traumatic injury while serving, takes them to a retreat in Maine and allows them to basically take their time, get back to normal, and basically be a functioning member of society again, with all the struggles that comes with the medical, the PTSD, and everything else that goes along with it. Those three organizations, 22kill.com, fisherhouse.org, travismills.org/foundation. Please support those charities and all military charities that I did not mention that are doing great work every single day to help our veterans, both living and passing as well. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe. I will see you next week for episode 12 here on 101 with Wes the Sports Guy at youtube.com and also at westhesportsguy.com as well. See you next time.